It said one, look like.
It's 6, so we might as well start. And we have
All of it?
Yes.
can you Sarah the link quickly or not?
What is it we're supposed to have on the table?
I don't know if she's home or not.
I didn't put anything on the table unless you had your binder here. I know that Lisa was handing out, I think, reserves and the cemetery, the trust accounts. She gave me a copy of each. You can have mine. I'm sure she has more.
I think Mary's printing it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
I just sent that to her.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you opening the meeting?
I didn't know I was, but I can't. Not an official meeting.
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You're gonna take over. You
Mary and Lisa are there. They are.
There we go.
Maybe I'll probably do that.
Is Lisa almost done, Mary?
Almost done, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's.
All right.
So
I'll call the meeting to order. Budget meeting between the select board, and we also have our budget committee here. So today is Monday, November 18. It's just shortly after 6 o'clock. The first read in your binders, if you had an opportunity to look, gives you just a quick budget snapshot. So it lists all of the governments, departments. We estimated school, county, and overlay. That's on the left-hand side of that page. On the right-hand side are a list of the reserve account requests. And I put a little note there in yellow for you that as you reviewed each department in your binder, that I went through and I highlighted all of the line items that are an increase from 2024. I also gave some quick notes on the bottom of that first sheet. So your first department to review would be either facilities or cemeteries. Corey and Phil are both here. Do you want to do cemeteries first? Okay. Yep. So if everybody can jump to that. So wages includes a 3% increase. The benefits line includes health insurance, FICA, the new paid. We broke that out. We actually broke that out better for you. If you look at wages, it actually shows you wages, payroll tax, retirement, overtime, the new paid family leave law, and then a health insurance line.
We're not, I'm almost there.
Yeah.
I'll get there.
It's after Public Works.
I have to cover.
It's about the fourth colored page in.
It's before facilities?
Yep.
Yes.
Just before.
Just before, okay. There it is. I found it.
Is it after public safety?
It's just before facilities. It's after.
Something like that, please.
It's after, right after.
We're gonna get
Public
some
Works.
tabs and tap them. We'll get some tabs, and if you leave your binders, we'll tab them for your next meeting, to make it easier.
Okay.
I apologize, we should have done that.
I did it with.
Oh, so you did it with sticky notes.
I'm gonna grab water bottles. Does anybody else want one?
Oh, I'm all set.
I brought mine, I'm all set, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else here? Want a water?
No, thanks.
Yes.
Oh, that's soon. Um. So if you look through there's only 2 pages for the cemetery budget. Again, the highlighted items are those which are higher than last year. Phil and Corey are both here. If you have any questions.
Is communication cell phone?
Yes.
And rentals is significantly lower. Is that because we purchased some equipment?
Rentals is typically, porta potties. So instead of all the porta potties coming out of the cemetery that are up there, we switched one of them, so it should have been almost cut in half to the garage, because that's where it is,
Oh,
24/7,
Okay.
365 days a year.
so that is.
Where'd you find the bottle? Where'd you find the
Oh, I
bottle?
was gonna case some.
Oh, good girl.
You never know when you gotta get stuff some.
You're absolutely right. Thank you.
All right, there's one more left. Anybody want it?
So we were just looking at the couple of pages, Melanie, for the budget. The highlighted items are higher figures than the 2024 budget. Someone asked about the communications line, that is cell phones, and the rentals line, why that might be lower. Corey, you explained about the porta potty.
Yeah, we switched one from 2 of them in the garage, in the cemetery, to 1 in the cemetery and 1 in the garage. So the one of the facilities.
Okay. I'm all set with it. Anyone else have any questions?
No.
The capital equipment for it, is that
Capital. It was at,
it says line 40 dash.
It's under purchases at the
It's on
bottom.
the first page at the bottom.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just
Oh, okay.
curious what, is that cost of equipment just rising?
Cost of equipment's rising, we've got some stuff that needs to be replaced, we need a new push lawnmower, we need a couple new weed whackers, stuff along that scheme.
Regular kind of stuff, regular kind of stuff.
Yes.
And the headstones, we're at 4,500.
Hopefully,
The headstones, what is that?
that is where we are rebuilding headstones that are falling over or broken, and we're having Provost Monument help us with those. We already did a big chunk of one section of them already.
And the food and water line item for the cemetery. What does that entail?
Mostly water. We have no drinking water up there, so.
Do we have, is there any spot we could do one of the? Stand.
That's actually in the plans, that's
Yeah,
what.
that's what we
we're
were
gonna do.
thinking, one of those machines, machines that you get the really big water
Yeah.
jugs, yeah,
5-gallon jugs.
yeah, whatever they are, yeah. It's fairly inexpensive, the big jugs, I think they're like 70 something.
And how many cell phones are we doing for them? Because 1,200 seems kind of high.
We do one cell phone for the cemetery.
We also have,
The
iPad.
The iPad,
The iPad is on
yeah,
there too.
that's right, so technically 2 cell phones.
So is this the iPad that Hans said he wasn't using to take photographs of places?
No.
Yeah, and it has the complete Sims
But-
program on it.
You didn't take that from Hans,
What?
No.
the iPad.
Oh,
No.
so a brand new one.
No,
Okay.
Yeah.
so because this is the first budget you're looking at, if you look at the first page at the top where you find wages, payroll, retirement, all of those things broken out, we have the new paid family leave law in effect. It's a 1% premium or contribution that we have to send in quarterly on all wages. During the discussion with the budget committee, they felt, and Bruce, Gary, John, feel free to jump in, or Sarah, you're on, felt that it would be better split between the town and the employees, so 0.5% that the town would pay and 0.5% that employees would pay, and it would come out of payroll. And there's no opt-out provision for employees. That was one of my questions at training last week.
So under your cemetery wage and payroll tax and that, none of those are highlighted. But wages are 47,075, a 3% increase would put us at 46,350. Is there another difference the other be is not reflective, or is this a split?
I didn't highlight any of the wages because we had built in those increases across the board for everyone, so I didn't highlight any of those.
If I do a $45,000 plus a 3% increase, that puts it at 46,350, and we're at 47,075. Did I miscalculate something? Because I just took the 2024 budget and added 3%.
We can double check that.
Still confused. And then the other retirement, 5,200, where we didn't have anything previously. Overtime, 750. Who's getting overtime in the cemetery? If we were paying overtime before, why are we paying now?
We were, but everything was rolled into wages. It was not broken out. No overtime or comp time was shown. It was just all in the wages line. Retirement, we have to budget for that if somebody is participating, and that's a full-time position.
So that's why that second line is so reduced from 20,880 to 3720.
Yes. I'm sorry, Bruce.
The other thing that we talked about some in the budget process was that an employee handbook, employees are should be up to a 5% increase. It's always on a slide rail, and you have one employee in town that does get has gotten a 5% increase the last 2. So I think it's kind of wrong not to offer that to all the employees.
I did not get a 5% increase the past 2 times.
No, but you could have got up to 5.
That's because I'm.
And I didn't want to.
Yeah, I'm under a contract, so
Right.
it's different.
But it's in the employee handbook up to 5%. On a slide, slide rail, 0 to 5.
Hey, Hans.
No, contracted services, sorry, Bruce, are you done with that?
I'm done. I just wanted the board aware of that.
So in the contracted services, we haven't used 4,000 ever. 2023, we were at 3,700, which seems we're on the high end there. We've only used 1,400. Do we need to keep that line item at 4,000? And what encompasses the contracted services for the cemetery?
That, there should be another $2,100 coming out of that. No, that's not it, that's a different line, contracted services.
Is that what all gets paid out of?
What's that?
Is that what?
Hollowell, and they've gone up, trying to think, there's, what's that? No, that's under the other portion there.
Right now, you're at 1766.50 for contracted.
Because we don't. Right, but you said there's another 2,100 coming out.
No, that's a different line. That would be the line down on licenses and, on the bottom. Contracted services would be also, that's what's come out of there. All of construction, tree service around the cemetery, stuff along that. That's what that is.
Mosquito Bendito,
Mosquito
where
Bandito, yes.
Bob the plumber comes out of there.
Yep.
That guy.
So, oh, that Bob guy, you know.
So do we think we're gonna need the full 4,000 this year?
In my eyes, is that you don't know how many full burials you're gonna have. If we end up with 25, 30 full burials, then.
Right.
Yeah.
In which I think those are up this year.
They are, we're at 36 right now, burials this year. So,
Yeah, in 2023, it was pretty close.
Not using it.
yeah,
In 2023, it was quite close to 4,000.
Yeah.
Do you use no postage? Cause it's pretty cool, we had 75 in there.
yeah, we don't.
So somebody, we don't ever have to send anything back or notice this to anyone that we use postage lines.
Nope.
Why did they put it in 24? Were we thinking we were gonna do a mailer or something on the ordinance change?
It's been there all along, and I almost took it out last year, and I did take it out this year. There's no sense in being there, it doesn't get used.
Well, so these other ones, those are the actions, so we didn't use it, okay.
That's what that was. Yeah.
Corey, the $100 that's for pest control, that's different from mosquito banditos.
$100 pest control, that is mosquito bandito. $99 we spend every Memorial Day around this history house and
Yeah.
the memorial,
Memorial
stuff
Day.
like that.
So then that
Specific
doesn't
pest
come in
control is
contract.
Terminex.
Yeah, Terminex, but we don't have Terminex up there, so.
It wasn't budgeted this past year, so it came out of this year's contracted services.
Yeah.
So that's a new line, I believe.
Yep.
Am I right about that one? That's a new line item.
Yes.
That's not the only thing we do for pest control though, right? Then we have them come in and do WebEx or something
We did that once.
once.
Yeah, that came out of,
That was
ARPA, that was ARPA funds.
ARPA.
That was expensive.
that was,
That was a lot of money.
So we don't anticipate needing anything like that. Again,
if all goes well, Kevin will be doing it. So he's
oh,
a
right.
long ways towards his licensing, so
Oh, good.
he will be doing it. We've already got
That's
the
I remember that. Yeah.
spreader and everything we need to do it. We just need to get his license finished.
And then what is We budgeted 500 for uniforms for cemetery, we didn't use a penny last year, so why are we keeping that? And
Because we're gonna use it. As a matter of fact, Kenny and I we're gonna meet today, but he got busy doing earthwork and we're gonna be ordering shirts and stuff. Same way we're under the facilities line.
You'd be like,
And boots, Kevin, you know, stuff like that.
high vis
So
stuff.
you doing a pair of boots and how many, you know, at one point, when I started doing this, we didn't have a uniform. Which is why we now do, because people were having to supply their own stuff. So at the same time, we still want parameters around how often we're purchasing and what we're purchasing. I know some places do $100 towards steel-toed boots. If you can get them for $100, you get them yourself. So what comes out of, so if there's 500 here, and then if we're sharing that uniform line item with, say, facilities maintenance, and then there's gonna be another one for a transfer station. How are those all pulled together? And is there something that the cemetery folks need that wouldn't already be covered under another line item? And either
We
transfer
don't
station
do
or
anything
facilities?
with the transfer station, other than getting enough orders so that he can meet the quota as to how many he has to order. That's the only thing we share with transfer station. As far as boots, we try to give one pair of boots every year. Technically, you're supposed to replace your boots every 6 months, as much as they get long, but we do a pair a year. And as far as these shirts, we have never ordered any, so.
So do we have anybody that works just in cemetery and doesn't work in one of the other departments?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm trying,
Kevin is paid for fully out of the cemetery.
okay. So then that's 500 for one person. Because last year we did the nice winter pillows that were $200 and something a piece. So we're not replacing those this year, right?
We're not.
So would we be comfortable reducing the uniform line item for one person from 500 to say 250? And we think that should cover the.
I think it should stay right where it is, but that's not my decision, I
I
guess.
think the transfer station, I have to go back on that line, but I think transfer station's either 300 or 400 per employee. It has been right along,
I think it is too.
but I mean, I'd have to look at that line.
So we get feedback. And then-
Yeah, Lisa's looking, hers is tabbed. Hey, Scott, you made it.
Hello.
Hey, uniform line for transfer station is 1,200.
Didn't know where Scott just got.
How many people is that?
Yeah. You got that.
They have
Four.
four.
Some
are
part-time, if that
makes
Neither one of them.
So that's 300.
Yeah, I think that's what it's been right along.
So then can we reduce this to 300?
You having, how much you have on the facilities line?
1,200, 1,300.
400.
Well,
So how many employees does that encompass in facility?
you have 1, 2,
Me, Wes,
you have
And-
4.
there'll be 4.
Yeah.
So that's 300 per person. So if we can drop the cemetery one to 300, that's consistent across every department.
Now, are you gonna do anything for your part-time, summer part-timers?
Well, there'll be some, shirts.
Shirts.
Yeah, there'll be some shirts.
So would that come under uniforms, the shirts?
Yeah.
Is it proper?
Okay, so that's 200 for shirts, so 300 for Kevin and 200 for the part-time summer.
For the part-timers.
Yeah.
I think that's up to 5. If I'm thinking how things went, I think possibly that's how you guys figured that was the
I think
500
so,
and then
yeah.
the part-timers for the cemetery for t-shirts would be for 200 to cover the, is it 2 or 3 part-timers?
Yeah.
If I'm speaking out of turn, just let me know, please. I'm just trying to help on that. I'm just thinking that's where that extra 200 would be for is for the t-shirts for the part, summer part-time, but I'm only guessing, but that's what I would say would be for.
That would make sense.
Yeah,
Does that meet the need for the group? That's my question.
I think it will, yeah.
Do they need boots for this one?
Okay,
What was that?
Yeah,
I
part-time,
was asking about boots for the summer help.
Oh,
usually but some help, usually that, part-timers like that you don't provide boots, but at least you. But, if you've got t-shirts, everybody else usually provides, everybody is uniform.
Didn't use any this year, so for the last 3 years, have they just been naked?
No, they haven't had a uniform allowance, this is a new allowance this year, this is something new. We're doing it for some entities in town, we need to do it across the board.
so it's not like trying to get it to be equitable across each group.
Correct.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
That number, 500. Given what's been described.
yeah, I am.
So there's two different, we've got the equipment, which is 6,000, and then capital equipment is 3,000. I was thinking the 3,000 was the push mower and weed whackers.
What are we talking about?
We've got the equipment line and the repairs and maintenance. So is that just, that's not new equipment, so the 3,000 would just be a push mower and a couple of weed whackers, because I know we did a couple of weed whackers last year.
Yep, this is repairs and maintenance. That has nothing to do with purchasing equipment. Matter of fact, I know you're gonna say, well, there's a 13, the skid steer is going in for repairs next week as soon as the parts get there. And that's gonna be a good chunk of change. But I did cut it $2,000.
6 is enough.
I think 6 is gonna be enough, yep. Because we have 1, 2, 3, we had 3 new mowers, which we shouldn't have to do any repairs on. So I think 6,000 is gonna be enough.
Should we hedge our bets and go to 7 to be on the safe side?
We can if you want, yeah.
And we used just over 7 in 2023, and I know we replaced some of the equipment. But I'd be comfortable going to 7, where 23 we used over 7. Anybody else comfortable with 7?
I'm comfortable with 7.
Yeah.
It's certainly not a big stretch. And it's just a budget. And we're not committing on that expense.
right.
Well, the budget drives the tax bill.
Understood.
So we going to 7 or we head at 6?
Comfort level at 7.
I don't care. $1,000 isn't gonna make or break us. I just think. If Corey's comfortable with 6, we can do 6. If you're more comfortable at 7, let's make it 7, but it's not. Not a make or break it
No,
for me.
We're nearly at there.
Uh,
Nearly.
We're nearly at time and we haven't done facilities yet, so
right.
Right.
So let's leave it at 6.
leave it at 6.
I'm comfortable with 6.
Okay.
I really am.
Okay.
You dare ask for 7. We'll see what happens. Don't jump and down on it.
Corey makes an out-of-pocket donation to the town.
Yeah, really.
Okay. Does that mean we can move on to facilities?
Yes.
Do you want me to open a window, anybody?
No, I'll just pop last year down.
Okay.
You make them have a pass. And there's the chicks that all the.
You need to bring your own little fan though.
So the next department would be facilities. Again, we broke out wages, payroll, retirement, overtime, the paid family leave, and the health insurance. Added the overtime line. The new workman field is new in this budget. Added in this year is facilities picked up the maintenance in 2024. The town does own this property. K-Wisp has been doing most of the maintenance and some mowing. Facilities worked on getting the field in great shape in 2024. Some of the buildings will need maintenance in 2025. Recreation and facilities have been working together with K-Wisp to make this a great asset for our area youth. And again, as you look through these pages, I highlighted the items that are higher than 24, with the exception of your wages, tax, retirement, and that sort of thing at the very beginning.
Are we able to get an overtime report for the year so that you can see where the overtime is being spent?
Yes, I'll make a note to send that out to you. Yeah, because Bruce asked for one earlier.
If people use comp time.
Question I got on services 20-1. We budgeted, that's communication, we budgeted 1,400 last year. We've expended so far this year 1,153, and we only budgeted 600.
20-1.
Communications.
Oh, on the first page.
Or
Yeah.
do you know what that is? Why that would be that?
I think it's because everything is new.
Did you put some of the communications onto the cemetery perhaps?
That could very well be.
I don't know, but.
Might have moved the phone over there.
I just want to make sure we're not shorting ourselves, that's all.
Oh, no, yeah.
You only had communications at 23 at the.
It's basically where we're sitting. So the debits.
Yeah, I was looking at the last report to see if about that.
Is communications just your cell phone, Corey?
Yes, it is.
No one else has?
Oh, no internet. Communications should be.
So on your expense. Communication.
For which department though?
Facilities.
I know that.
Okay, that should be under the garage.
What should be facilities?
So it should be.
Yeah, there's two different lines. This facilities, oh, that's Center for All Seasons.
Okay, here's your.
I have telephone and internet.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's what I got.
So we probably need to bump that for the 1,400.
Right, the garage internet. And yeah, that's 65, 66, 67 a month.
Yeah.
So bump it
The
to
garage.
right. So should we bump that back up to 1,400 like it was in 2024?
Well, if that's gonna stay there, does that stay there, Corey, or should that be moved?
Who the heck is the year out? Yeah.
Expense reports right here, Corey.
So we have.
21. So you have expended changes. It's all your charges.
That's how it's built.
Where we've got it built in here.
Where's on page 1?
I'm looking for the garage.
What do you need?
I wanna know if there's communication line in the garage.
Yes, there is.
That should be with
$400.
400? Yeah. Okay, so it's screwed up on both parts then.
Yeah.
Either one of them have enough to cover it then.
No.
So we can either add it to the garage one, or we can add it back to that one.
If you go back to 23, communications across facilities maintenance was close to $1,700. and you only have 1,400 right now. And year to date, this was, I don't know, a couple of months ago was about 1,100.
Really, they're cutting this, so there probably should be money added to either communications on 1304 or,
2001.
well, it's gonna be under 2001.
Well, but he's talking about where in the facilities, but
Oh, I'm sorry,
So,
yep.
Either 1301 or 1304.
Right, gotcha. Yeah, because charter, I'm looking at the expense line, charter's been coming out of your 2001 as well as your US Cellular.
Yes.
So we just need to figure out how we want to split it and budget appropriately.
I would probably say based on, have the rates gone up on this stuff?
Having the internet at the garage is new,
New, that's right, yep.
so you could say that the 23 of the 88.8 for the cell phone is more accurate for the cell phone alone.
I think for general, for 1301, probably need about $1,000 in there. And then
So-
for 1304, you're gonna, probably almost double that.
So we need to, yes,
So go 1,000 in under 1301.
Well, 23, you spent $900. Now, we have no experience on 1304. I think that's a fairly new line,
Yes, it is.
but when we looked at 1303, somehow in 23, $826 was spent.
you're about $800 if you do internet for the garage, right? Yeah, so far, and that's only what, half the year? It should no, more than 65, isn't it? 65. That's, I think those are. Yeah, when did internet go in the garage? When did internet get to the garage? But you're,
Yeah,
if you look at your.
yeah,
monthly-
Sarah's got her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sarah. She's muted. You got it, there she goes.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna be interrupting your flow. Just finish what you're talking about. I pick it up at the end.
Okay.
Well, so they-
So I think it's imagine.
I know, so- A lot of these didn't get-
grade, it doesn't say.
Is it not Belgrade just internet?
Yeah, but a lot of these things along the lines didn't get billed to the proper place.
That's the way it appears.
Yeah.
Well, because like the Department for the Lakes, they got internet, there's no internet line.
The lakes. No idea.
No, it should be added.
Yeah, we have internet at the depot station and the lake station.
Today.
We have internet at the depot and like,
But it's not in.
So we don't, I never had it under a line, it's mine.
I think it's underneath of ours.
Oh, is that? under
Oh,
public
is it under
safety?
yours?
I think so.
For both lake stations, I mean, both fire stations?
Yeah.
So,
I'm only seeing 2001 in 3 places.
Right.
What's the recommendation for that? The value for those?
Well, if you want to drive the cost of the causer, then you probably need new lines in the areas where there's internet or telephone service. So I'm hearing the fire station, I'm hearing other places. So I guess the question now is, where are those charges going?
yeah,
Well, is the fire station under public safety?
I believe it, yes, I believe we budget.
We budget for it under under public
Right,
safety.
because we're budgeting to have it put in knock coverage, to do knock boxes. That's the
Right, but there's only 3 communication lines in the budget right now. One for facilities general,
Right.
North Belgrade, community center, and the garage.
And the
That's
garage.
it.
Doesn't the,
Be one under general government because we're not the town manager.
Yeah, there is one under general. Yep.
Okay, so I'll do that.
well, there's no one on the center for all seasons either.
We have,
Central Seasons.
we have a
is-
cell phone, we have a
But it's in there.
full-time cell phone.
In there.
There's a 2001 under, looks like general.
Definitely need some
Fire and
continuity here.
Under general fire and rescue, okay.
So there's, yeah, there's a communication in recreation.
Oh, yeah, okay, so. All right, communication
There
lines.
should be communication
Yeah.
in general government.
There's one in administration, the town manager, code enforcement, fire and rescue, animal control, cemetery, general, facility maintenance. Facility maintenance, North Belgrade Community Center, the garage, solid waste management, the transfer station, recreation, and library.
Mhm.
That's where they all are sitting.
The North Belgrade should be into recreation.
Okay, so to get facilities done, we just need to make sure that the ones we have here are allocated, have enough money in them.
Which it doesn't at this time, right? If I understand it. With the internet, it's gonna be like 800 a year. Or 9.
It's hard to tell here because I don't remember when we put internet in, do you?
It was this spring, I do believe.
Well,
think it was
the
May or
bill's
something.
fairly constant, right? So we'll grab a
Right.
bill and look and see what the charge is and multiply it by 12. Unless we're expecting rate increases.
We are not in, yeah. With internet, I'm checking Fidium, which is new,
Yeah.
with,
you know,
is less expensive.
and a lot better
Yeah.
service.
So I'm checking with that, and I saw on one of the groups on Facebook here in Belgrade, I was
Yeah.
waiting to see, a lot of people are putting it in, they're very pleased with it.
Right,
So that was good, yeah.
okay, so can we just make a
Anyway,
note to get those corrected
Yes,
and keep
yeah.
moving?
Yeah,
Otherwise, we're never gonna get
yes,
Reminder.
through here.
for your next meeting, we'll have those,
Those numbers ready in
Correct.
each of those.
yes. See you,
Okay.
Phil. Thanks, Phil.
So does that take care of that question?
Yeah, we'll just raise that, for 2001, under 1301, up to what, you said $1,000?
Well,
We gotta figure out what the.
oh, they can check it out.
Internet will throw under the garage.
And have Lisa and Lorna look at the actuals and
Yeah.
then just multiply it out.
Right,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Sarah, do you have something now to say?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Regarding facilities, and this year we went through a lot of dynamics in defining what was in the ballpark there in the Workman's Field, defining what was K-West and what was recreational. Do we have a document that says who does what? In my mind, I guess the town is picking up the mowing and so on, keeping the grass down. Are they keeping the lines in the field, or that's part of the town job? I just want to make sure that since we went through all this rehash this year, that somehow there's a document that put it in black and white for everybody in the future.
Okay, Lorna, is there some document or we can put
not to
one
my
together?
knowledge, yeah, we
So
could
that, we'll make that note.
work
Okay.
with Corey.
Yeah, I guess that depending on what the town is responsible for, that certain amount of money. And so is what they're responsible for. If they're doing all the lining, they have volunteers for free, and they can do it all the time that they want, and they can buy all the materials for it, and they will charge that in the uniforms and whatever fees they charge to the kids to play. So that's out of our budget. So we gotta understand exactly what are the responsibilities of the town on that. And I want to say that we regret the cutting of the grass and one more two tasks. I think the one that knew all that was Dan McGlashan. But I just want to make sure that somehow that we have that in a document, black and white, and that everybody's communicated with it, and that we're all amicable and agreeable in it now, and then next year, just a review, not a new rehash again.
Okay,
Good point, Sarah, thank you.
thank you.
Not a problem, thank you.
So I got another question on 35-02 and 35-03.
Under,
Under,
Facilities, on the first page.
okay,
So it's a facility truck. 2024, we budgeted 4. We expended 2,831.78. We're budgeting 10. On a facility 1 ton, we budgeted in 2024, 8,500. We've spent 6,500, 1608. We budget 0.
we talked about that? Yeah, we talked about
Yeah,
the budget.
we combined,
So that's what
this
divided.
combined, yeah,
Okay,
we
so-
couldn't delete one of the lines, but facilities truck is all 3 trucks.
Okay, perfect. That's all. I thought that's what it was, but I just want to make
Because if
sure
we
we're
were to
not.
get another one, there's no enough lines right now.
Okay, I just want to make sure we weren't
yeah,
missing anything. That's
Yep.
all. I don't want,
Okay.
when I see a 0.
Or can you refresh my memory on that? I have a note here, it says net. Were we netting something there on those trucks?
We had the body all painted
Okay,
and sandblasted.
never mind. Yeah, don't worry about it.
okay.
Well, we still on track for a warrant article for 40,000 this year to put in towards a new truck in 2026.
Yeah, I can't remember what.
Facilities truck, we put in for 50.
I thought last year we were gonna do 40, and then 40.
Well, I actually had 60 in last year, I think. And then when I was in the hospital, you guys cut it to 40.
No, that was the $100,000 out of the undesignated fund, and we backed that up to 40.
So
And the intention at the time was 40 in 2024, 40 in 2025, 40 in the 2026 budget, which would give you 120, and then whatever we could get for the 2016, if we decided to trade it or sell it, then that would offset, and that should more than do it.
I have no idea. I was not privy to that. That was made when I wasn't here, so I have no idea.
So last year was it 40?
It was 40.
It was, but it wasn't, it didn't start out at 40.
Right, okay. Have prices increased enough that we need to move it to 50 this year to be able to do it?
There's $1,000 difference in scope. Yeah.
Oh,
If I did a 1-ton truck right now, and if we went diesel, and if I went, probably talking 55, 65 for diesel, 10 for a sander, 10 for a truck. So you're 85,000.
So when is the plan to replace the 2016 truck?
2026, every 10 years.
Yes.
Does that work? No, it's,
oh, here.
the truck's getting tired.
I think
We've already
we
fixed the
originally-
rust on it once, and it's already starting to rust through again.
I think we originally had requested a new truck, but felt that maybe it was too much for 1 year, and so split it 2
Into two.
years,
Yeah,
but
now
that-
it's been
we
split
have
into, now it's been split into 3, so.
Because we had
I have
talked
no
about
idea.
other places that do a 10-year rotation, and that was the intention in the Tower of Belgrade.
But that other places have done a 10-year rotation all along. We have not.
We always did. And then it kind of got a little cattywampus, I feel like, as we've had some changing and stuff, but that's why last year I said if we can get us back on a 10-year rotation. And we start saving for the next truck, and then we save, and then in 2026, whatever's left from that one. Keeps populating the truck account, and then when we need to replace the next truck, now we've got a buffer moving toward. It's that.
Okay, so I guess my question, you could replace it in after town meeting in 2026. Will our current 2016 get us that far?
You gotta gaze into your crystal ball.
But, yeah, are we discussing capital reserves tonight, or is that another night?
Another night.
So
Okay.
to stay on track.
Okay.
I'm sorry for speaking up, but to stay on track with our
No, no,
schedule.
that's why when the discussion was here, I'm like,
That's 40,000 to put towards
No,
the truck.
no, we
And it
got,
looks to be like, whoops, we forgot that one.
we're gonna have a long night on capital reserves probably, so that should be a
Okay,
meeting
all
by
right.
itself.
okay,
So we're not changing
we're
that.
not changing that tonight, we'll do that another night. Okay. So. Are we going, I guess the question I had, as I looked through this, the rest of this, sort of ran through in a way that worked for me. But the question I had was on the Dalton properties. And,
What page is that on?
it's towards the back
Towards the
here.
end of the facilities section.
History house, town office, whoops. Before there, before dams.
It's the third page from the.
1311
back
is
one
the
is
department
one.
division
Yeah.
number.
1311, is it?
Yeah,
Yes.
13.
Okay, thank you.
so I'm just trying to read here, if. We're putting the warrant article in that seemed logical that we would be taking the buildings down, and somewhere I thought we had a number of about 40,000. Would take down both buildings? Or 40,000 per
I
building?
think it's 40,000 per building, but I
Because you've
think
got
I
the
also
fill,
got a lesser price if I.
right,
So
so I guess my
If we
question.
said 40,000 per building,
Right.
yes.
So here we have Dalton Properties, 24,550. Now, we have 20,000 this year that we haven't spent. And I think the process is that 20,000 would go into undesignated reserves.
That or capital, it may be going in, that line apple goes in facility capital reserve, I think. I don't know.
Facilities.
So facilities,
to
capital reserve.
So that the 20,000 here, I'm just saying, if we haven't spent that 20,000 this year, let that be part of the 40,000 we spend next year to take the building down. I just don't know what mechanism is to make it work.
So when we're doing this article,
Right,
we need to have the expense in that article, it's gonna cost to remove it,
right, we know that.
right.
But-
Or to rebuild.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the article
So-
have to have either or.
Yeah, because what is there, 17, 20,
So no.
24,550.
450, yeah, left over from last year that hasn't.
Right.
Well, it looks like, 5,000 has been spent there.
And I know when you're working on this, we hadn't even had the discussion about, the cost and taking the building down.
Yes.
So all I'm saying is, if the 20,000 roughly that we don't spend this year goes into capital reserves, then I think we should take that 20,000 to supplement the budget to take down the building. So maybe we
Yes.
budget.
Just increase the 24,000 to 45,000, is that what you're saying?
No, because we're gonna take 20,000 from undesignated. This year's leftover 20,000
That's going.
plus 25, we're gonna raise and appropriate, so we don't have
But we're
to
not
raise.
talking about raising and appropriating, no, we're just talking about
All
what
right,
the budget figure is.
okay,
We're not
the
talking
budget
about how
number
to
is,
pay for it.
okay,
Right, that's a different discussion on a different night. for
okay,
that,
but the bottom line is, we've gotta have money to do it.
Right,
So let's take 20 out of, that's left over from this year,
right,
however we pony those together. With 25 we budget for this year and make
right,
that be
so you
enough.
how you gotta write the articles.
Bless
You gotta
you. Bless you.
You gotta write the article, appropriate 20,000 from the
Right,
facilities capital reserve and raise and appropriate from tax dollars, $25,000. Or whatever it's gonna take to do all of it.
right, so that's all I'm trying to
Yeah.
accomplish here.
But in the budget, then we should go from 24,550, that total should be.
45.
No,
You're gonna take-
No, that needs to be on the article that you're gonna have the voters vote on to tear the building down or fix the building, not into your budget.
Okay.
Okay, so there's
If it's in
24,
reserve, it could
550
be
should be
used for that
25, just to round the number.
You
Right.
don't have to do anything
25.
if it's in reserve.
25
In
to
years
round.
past, always,
But that's,
when
that's
they're
the
doing it,
total.
But you don't, you already have approval.
That's the
Right.
total of all the other column, of the.
There's only
That's why you have a
Right.
reserve.
there's only 20 in there.
24,550.
Okay,
It'll be less. kind of,
Right,
because I had the stairs fixed, I had. There's,
Okay.
there's still work in Dalton tentative, so.
yeah, I gotta go in and winterize that heat system, because I ain't gonna put it on again this year, so.
Could you?
So the other question I have on Dalton properties is, does this include the little sailing shack or whatever it is, the building down by the water, which is a Dalton, what's a
That's
Dalton
not Dalton.
property?
No, that's not Dalton, but you know what, that's a good point.
Is that anywhere?
That's, I have no line for that building.
Yeah, I'd say you have no budget for that building at all.
I think that money, even in rec center, at some point used to be under Dalton.
It was under Loon,
Loon Cottage.
Loon Cottage, it had a line item at one point.
Did it?
Was-
So we just need to make sure that we get that in there somewhere.
Yeah, because we need to jack that building.
Yeah, plus you got power bills on it.
Isn't that coming from reserve? Center for all seasons?
Well, that's what we're gonna try to figure out. We need another meeting and we need to have, Chase from Cabin Master said he'd come out and give us their expert opinion on what we can do to
How much?
have the building.
All right, just so we have a note that we need to make sure that, okay. Yep, all right, that's the real question I have. The rest of it looks pretty straightforward to me. I don't know about the rest of you.
Sarah, do you have your hand up again?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you for all the great discussion. I really appreciate it. I was gonna ask about the Dalton properties too, so that's taken care of. And then, Corey, you did a great job. I'm proud of you. A lot of good transparency tonight. Thank you.
Cool.
okay.
And I just was trying to look for a pest control contract. We've got 900, I think we have 800 with terminals. And I was trying to find it in my meeting minutes, but it's hard to pull them all in one fell swoop, so we're trying to find like the rate discussion. Do you remember? Does anybody else remember?
I don't remember.
I was here at that.
Can they
meeting,
get to it easier? Like, but if we just check on that, I thought, because we had had the contract very long, I thought it was 800
For,
for pest control determinants.
You're spending a lot more than that.
with what facility?
This is under. Was it just North Belgrade?
No, there's pest control at the cemetery, center for all.
They're all separated
Yeah,
out.
separate and different people doing it.
So it's
And that's this.
Center for All Seasons is budgeted with, budgeted 2024 1,500, so far at the date, we spent 1,372.15, we budgeted 1,800 for next year. That's facility, Center for All Seasons.
Most of the places I run $80 a month.
Isn't the center more?
Pretty sure it is.
Yes, it's the center of the bigger building, so
Plus they treat outside.
Right, because of the kids.
Yep.
I mean, if we can just sneak a peek and just make sure we've got that.
And kitchen for food, right?
their bill seems to be 166.
They're more against the other.
23.
Can we make a note to check that? Just, we're
Yeah,
at
I've
seven,
got
you know, we're moving way.
Yes,
We're
I've got a
lagging way
note, I've got
behind
a
here.
note for that, for Tori, Lisa, and I. Except that. We'll get together,
Contract.
spend the morning grabbing things. Yep, absolutely.
Is there anything else anyone has?
We've got snow, we've got a line item under the North Belgrade for $250. We don't pay anybody else to do snow removal.
No, it's just always been there, I've just not cut it out yet.
That's because you have to have it bucketed low.
Exactly, in case.
To push things back to be able to.
We don't
get
have
it
the
out, right?
equipment to move stuff back.
So on, go back to pests. I don't see a line item underneath the Lakes Fire Station. I believe we have pest control there.
Yes, we do.
I
I
don't,
thought we added that on there.
I don't see that line item unless what we're looking at? Just make your note to,
I don't see it.
Is it under public safety?
No,
No.
it should be under there.
it's under this,
Okay,
I know we didn't budget, we did our budget.
okay. We have to look at that one too.
We've made a note, I've made a note.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then the security system under the garage. Does that include, we have cameras in the building, right?
Cameras, CO2 detectors,
Or is that the
smoke detectors,
laser thing you do?
yep.
$1,500 enough?
Well, we were just accepting that, isn't that under 1311 or something, 13?
It's in several places.
Yeah. That was one of the places we said we were gonna check, to make sure we had enough money for that.
The only thing that we didn't have was the library.
Libraries covered on their own. Yeah, the garage, communications under 1304-2001 is $400, we were gonna double check that to make sure we had enough under that line. The security system.
Okay, so would we essentially be combining the 400 and the 1,500 to really be 1,900, because we didn't have a communications line previously? So would that go under with the security system line? Or still have that would be
1,500.
standalone?
Communications would be the internet. And
Cell phone.
No.
Cell phone is the only thing I see.
not under
over
the
there.
garage. Cell phones under facilities, I do believe.
It is,
Yes.
your cell phone, yeah, you're correct.
Communications is the garage, which is the internet, which, looking at it now, $400 is not gonna be enough. What's that?
Which we need to run the security system, correct?
So.
And I know that the price was up last year because we just installed it,
Everything is installed, yeah.
but I just want to make sure we don't cut ourselves short. Should bump it back to 2 for the buffer, or it's solid,
We can check that.
that's enough of that.
Oh,
We only spent 74 cents this year in heating that building,
In what? What?
the garage and the repairs movements. That has heating, 74 cents.
We're in the process of making sure things are where they're supposed to be.
I say, that don't even sound right. No, my bill was going in.
That's just somebody blowing hot air. Literally.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When I look at 23, going back to security systems, it was 8,300. Was that an install?
Under which line, so.
That's the maintenance
Garage.
garage. Budget was 8,300.
Well, the actual was were 8,300. And
Oh, I'm sorry.
there was no prior year actual, so I presume that was for the installation and everything.
Thought we just did the security system in that in 24.
Yeah, we did do the security system in 24. I don't know why security under the garage would have been 8,000 one year,
8,300.
Yeah,
8,300.
One, two.
because
Oh, but that's 2020.
Because, last year to date, we're at about 9,500, which could have been a month ago or two. And the budget's at 10,2 on that, so I'm not sure there's enough there. I don't know. I will take a look at that.
I have a few questions on the workman field, when you guys are ready.
Workman's field, oh,
What's all?
That's the last page in the facility.
oh, under park,
It's under workman field, 13-17.
okay.
Question one is rental, the idea of,
Porta potties,
okay, yeah. And contracted services,
dumpster,
$4,200 for dumpster.
dumpster. Oh, Dan had a whole list of stuff that was contracted services.
Can we get that list for another meeting? Okay, unless you have it.
Well, yeah, it's here, just, no, nothing was done. Wasn't that part of the,
Oh,
is it grant?
turf doctor.
Yeah.
Turf doctor.
Yeah,
And you're doing something.
Okay,
yes,
that's all I got. Thank you.
you're welcome.
But now that he's brought up this thing,
Oh, open a can of worms.
yes, you did. What, we don't have a plumbing line.
No, we don't.
No. Repairs and.
Repairs and maintenance, we don't have a plumbing line under,
Is it contracted? Should go under contracted, which is, you said we had plumbing under another contracted line, correct?
well, we typically have all the facilities under a plumbing repair line.
I'm guessing probably 350 would cover that for open, close, and
Just to have it on there, we should put a plumbing line
yeah,
At
350. 350
Under-
That cover open and close.
under the workman
Any
field.
repair, any little repair we have to
Okay,
do.
3,000? No,
No.
350,
Okay.
yeah, add.
Sorry,
So we'll make a note of that, workman field.
So the line would be 3506.
Okay, thank you.
And was the electricity for workman field ever something different?
It's been paid by
Okay, West,
along with. So yeah, we took over all
So
of
is
the
that,
utilities.
all right, so that A-West no longer?
as far as I know, they're still in existence.
Yeah,
They do the programming,
Okay,
but we own the field and do the maintenance.
okay.
So what would the rentals be under that?
That's
Porta-
porta
porta
potties.
potty.
So
One handicap, one regular.
So I'm assuming what they raise and appropriate money for at this, that I call it the snack shack, is for their programming.
Yes, that doesn't.
That doesn't come out of,
have
that doesn't
anything
come
to
out
do
of
with
Rex
it.
or anything?
No,
Okay.
no.
Well, if this is the first year that we're gonna assume $6,800 for K-West. I think if there's a conversation with K-West and the Board of Parks and Rec and the Select Board. Are they aware that they're now gonna be responsible for $6,800 that they weren't responsible for prior to?
Who aware?
K-West, I mean, Workman Field.
No,
And
it's,
they used to be paying it, we are now paying it.
yeah, they would take care of their own stuff. Now we are raising appropriate tax dollars, that amount of money to take care of it.
And why are we switching it? I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to go back and look at the original contract that we had with K-West. And the Board of Parks and Recreation in the town of Belgrade. To be sure that we're lined up with everything, because I don't wanna take something on, because what we had done previously was we were responsible for mowing up the grass. And then Kenneth Walker used to do that, and that was kind of awkward. Mary?
There's an actual warrant article, so that will have to be changed, giving them the authority under the administration of the Board of Parks and Rec, to have control of the field, so. We're gonna, if the town is now going to be 100% responsible for all the maintenance, we should look at that warrant article and change it, because it was like a forever warrant article.
Well, that's what I
We used
thought.
to pay them,
$3,000.
$3,000, but for them, we were paying them $6,000. And years ago, they came to us and said, we don't need it because they had a very good person in charge who made a lot of investments. Rod Bickford, I don't know if anybody knows Rod, I know you do. Anyway, he made a lot of investments. He wanted to cut it out completely, so we reduced it to 3,000. And they were happy with that. All they had to do was the maintenance of the field. They paid for the electricity. They were responsible for everything, but we have a warrant article, so that needs to be looked at to be changed.
Yeah, so we should look at the warrant article, we should look at the contractual obligation, and we should probably update the contract between the town of Belgrade, K-List, and the Board of Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, well, there's no contract anymore because they gave up all of their responsibilities for any maintenance whatsoever, and it was absorbed by the town of Belgrade because we have a liability, we own the property to maintain the property. So
that's part of what Sarah had asked, that we, whatever that agreement is, that we just look through that.
Right, come up with a new agreement.
Right.
You're putting,
what the
you're
town
putting
is
down the
responsible
warrant article needs to be looked at as well.
Yeah, I am doing
Okay.
that right now.
All right. Okay. Anything else under this? Can we let Corey off the hot seat and go to our next?
no, he likes it there.
Next time, Corey, you're right up there, buddy.
Oh, I don't think so. Yeah, that would be putting people behind me and that. 17 years sheriff's office, I don't have people behind me.
What's the next one?
Next one is public
Be
works.
stuck in.
And Jason is on Zoom, wake up.
We're running a little behind.
You're on mute, Jason. You're on mute, you gotta undo that.
Okay.
See? Good job.
You got it.
So, Public Works, of course, we have our new snowplow contract this fall, which we've already begun making payments on. So I've broken out the schedule annually for you to see what that pricing is. We're on
Backwards to me. 535 this year and 489, I mean, in 26 and 328 and 27.
right, the contract ends.
You pay your biggest amount, your first year. And
Well, it's,
Oh,
we've already started paying, so 2025 is the spring and the fall, winter of 25. 26 is the spring and fall of 26, winter. And then 27 would just be that winter, spring,
okay. Oh, all
Period.
right. Okay.
right? And then you've got to have a new contract for the fall, winter.
Okay.
We're on the
Explain.
3-year rotation for the paving. So we did paving in 2022, so it should be done in 2025. That's under debt service. The rentals line item is reduced from 106 this year to 100,000 in 25, and then all other items are flat budgeted.
Hey, Jason,
I,
how's the chip sealing? On the depot, Road, east, west, and what was it, the old penny?
Minot Hill?
The old Route 27.
Minot Hill and East West, I think the only two we did. I can't see where they've changed much. I mean, I drive them, I don't see much different. I don't think it's
So-
we'll go with in the future.
Yeah, so we were looking at it as a pavement preservation to get us through to the next paving cycle.
Right.
Do you think that that's gonna be a 2026 cycle, or is that gonna be a 2029 cycle if it stays good?
I would say a 2029 cycle.
Okay,
Mhm.
because we had anticipated getting at least 3 more years out of it, but if we can get 6 more years out of it before we have to do those
Right.
roads again.
It wasn't what we expected because like on the Minot Hill Road, they didn't fill in any of the ruts. So they shim it with like asphalt and then they put the chip sealant on it. But on the Minot Hill Road, they just chip sealed it and didn't shim any of the ruts. So the quality of the job wasn't what we expected. So there was a little discrepancy there. Um, because people thought it was going to be smooth with no ruts and everything, and it wasn't that. So I think grinding the roads and repaving with 2 inches with an inch of surface is the way to go. I don't think the chip sealing's really saving us much money.
Last 5 years.
So we tried the experiment, we don't think it worked, or we think that, well. if it
Maybe on
passes-
like a little short dead end road, like say maybe School Street, Hewlin Road or something like that. But on a road like the Minot Hill Road, I don't think it was, no, I don't think it was. Like, yeah, if you were trying to do like the West Road or anything like that, I would say no. Anything with
Well,
traffic.
yeah, because we weren't looking to do it extensively, we're more looking like. And we had a high traffic one and a low traffic one to see what the difference would be. And they came back after the first round of it, right, because there were like some holes in the
Yeah.
chip seal.
Yeah,
And then they came back a second time, because I'm on that every day and I thought it was holding up pretty decent.
yeah. It is, but it isn't like, I don't know. I mean, we spent probably about half of what it would have cost to pave it, or a little bit more than half. Um, I don't know. I mean, it's a 50. I think you're better off spending the other extra half and get it paved once and done and let it last 10 years, I think, on a heavy traffic road, heavy traveled road. So,
That's why I went to quiz you. I was like, I haven't seen Jason ask him, but I'm on that road every day and I'm like, oh, it's holding up okay.
yeah, you think it's, I
Once it
mean,
slows down a bit, when it was really rough at first is when people were complaining.
yeah,
Now it seems
right.
decent.
Yep.
So what roads are coming up?
That's under debt service.
For next week.
Yeah,
That's
that's next week.
Okay.
But if you look on, in your binder, if you look up debt service, Melanie, there's a list. That the roads committee met, and recommend. It's just over, I think, 6 miles, right, Jason?
6.24.
Yeah, if I do want, how much is it? 6.24 miles. Foster Point, Grandview, Dameron, Horse Point, Stevens, McGrath Pond, sorry. Sorry, it's McGrath. McGraw is GRAW.
Oh my God.
Raw. Anyway, and that was it. Yes. Everybody laughs at me. McGrath.
Okay, so, does anyone have any questions on Public Works? For Jason? The only real difference is the plowing contract, right?
Correct.
No? Can we let Jason off the hook?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
And thank
Thank you,
you.
Jason.
thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, general government. That should be your first one.
oh, that's the very beginning.
Yes. So, we increased, code enforcement hours to 36. Audit costs increased to 16.5. The website costs will increase from 25 to 34. And then we added 2,500 in wages and 200 in payroll taxes to the planning board budget. In the event we need to pay for having minutes done due to staff changes recently. And we had an error on that ACO tax line, but it's now labeled, or should be labeled correctly.
Okay.
And we did, one of the things we wanted to also consider is the cost for printing and mailing the town report.
Yep.
Mary was able to get that information nailed down, printing 89.71 and then mailing the postage around 2,500, so you're looking at about 11,500 to print and mail. So the concern with that is A, of course, the cost, but B, like Kenny gets a lot of them at the transfer station. And so then he'll bring them up to the town office because people are just throwing them away.
And the post office also collects a lot that
Oh, guess
are
what?
not deliverable, so.
Right,
We
just
probably get returns of about at least 75 or more. It's hard,
75 reports.
it's hard to predict which ones are going to come back and
Right.
which isn't going to come back.
75 out of how many?
22.
About 2250.
I love that.
I think we still pay for that.
Yeah.
We've said it over and over again, that we don't do a lot of services in this town for people pay for their taxes. And when I see the amount of old folks who have kept them year after year and can go back. That's why last year, and I'm gonna request again, that last year, we didn't have the correct numbers for some items in the town report. So I had requested that the very next newsletter that we did something that people could take off and put in their annual report so that it was actually the numbers that we had budgeted and we didn't get done. So if we can do it and maybe at least give it to folks at this year's town meeting so that they can put that in their book from last year, because we need to have our right numbers in the book this year.
Wasn't part of the problem we weren't getting something from the audit or?
We waited a long time for the auditor to get us that report. We were late getting the report to the printer. Yeah,
And do they know we expect that this time?
the auditor, yeah, they have their first meeting with Lisa in December
13th.
to start that process a little bit earlier. Especially where she's new,
Right.
new to this. So I think, and they thought it was a great idea to meet early, just take a day. So I think that will be super helpful.
There were a lot of journal entries too. I know that on one of the primary, the lead auditor, she was ill for a period of time, if
Yeah.
you remember correctly.
Yeah.
She was sick and could not get here. But there are a lot of journal entries, and it's so important that come December, that departments have their invoices in here, because what it means to get an accurate audit report is that all these journal entries have to be coded back to the 2024 year. So Nick was very nice. And didn't let things slide in that area, but talking to Lisa and Lorna and just letting them know that it's so important that, hey, spend your money and spend it by December 1st to December 10th if you can, because some of those invoices, especially credit cards and different things, they don't come in for 30 days later.
Right.
So you're still budgeting back and entering the journal entries in for that.
So there's a new
Previous
sheriff
year.
in town, huh?
Right.
And that happened a lot, that was a lot,
Yeah.
and I know Nick was doing journal entries even into March after the audit report was done.
Okay, so do the department heads know now?
They-
Oh, I already
She's
sent out
already
an
sent
email and I got
something
this, what?
So they know.
Yeah.
Great, so it's expected, so we should see them.
It's
That's what it's-
right,
We'll see.
but it's had, so for some departments, it's had. Fire and rescue, it's very hard because we can't control payroll. Because we don't know our quality of how many calls we're gonna do, so it's hard for us to do our
I
year
don't
end
think
spend.
that it's payroll so
It's not
much,
payroll
though. It's
as
not
much as-
that.
Well, no, so to be able to spend, to do some buying, because unfortunately this year, we're way over on one line item. That to do any buying fire department, we're not gonna know until we get into the second, third week of payroll in December. If we're gonna have any money left to spend to buy gear, or, so we may just end up not spending any and letting it roll over
Well,
into the capital
it shouldn't
reserve.
be working that way. Personal services, salaries and benefits.
Are separate.
You shouldn't be saying, okay, well, I got surplus here, let me spend it down here. You have a budgeted line item. And that's what you are constrained to on that line item. If you have surplus in salaries, does not mean you can overspend on equipment.
It's not
And
equipment,
that's
we're spending.
Stop, because you know how often I hear it's one pot of money.
Yeah, no, it's not.
No.
Thank you.
But I mean, I can give an example for
Actually-
public works, it's one line item, it's overspent
It
$22,000.
doesn't matter. It would, you know, what should really happen is that, when the bill comes in, and if you're overexpending that line, it really should become before the select board as to whether or not they want to move money from another line somewhere else in the budget, net zero. But you just can't overrun because that's the way we've always done it.
And
You know, I have the same problem with the county. You know, I sit there and preach to them, but it doesn't seem to matter.
note for the select people, read in your last, it was either not this townsman. Is the townsman before, the townsman previous, and it talks to that exact same thing, and even though you have one bottom number at the bottom. You divvied out your line items here, and you're not supposed to be overrunning those individual line items, so just FYI.
I don't know what town law is on supplemental adjustments. You know, moving money in between lines. I don't know what your law is, but that is, you can do that.
They did, right, and they explained
Right.
Well,
what
say-
you could and what you couldn't.
If we're gonna change that, then we gotta start the budget process over for this year.
It's not a change. It's actually, it's generally accepted accounting principles is what it is.
It's gas.
And yeah, right, it's.
I mean, payroll, we can come close on, but it's like, we can't control when a truck breaks down, and
Right,
it's very expensive.
but what Scott is saying is you can't move payroll into
Right,
your expense line.
Well, what it is it's not the overall payroll, it's a volunteer payroll, so we plan for here. And if the call rates are down, then we were able to buy 3 more sets of fire gear, basically. So, we had budgeted for multiple sets of fire gear for 5 pounds, we're not gonna be able to do it, because we don't have the money. We're,
We had a big repair bill,
yeah,
that big, yeah.
$42,000, and it's still not done.
The thing is about the fire department budget is you never lose your money anyway, it always,
Goes
because we
into-
have a warrant article
Right,
that
goes in
it
the capital
lapses
reserve.
into your reserve, so you always have the opportunity to spend that money
Right,
at another time without.
that's what we're doing
That's
this
the
year.
purpose of the reserve.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, that's what we're doing this year, we're letting it lapse into the capital reserve because we're not gonna
right,
know.
so if you don't get to spend the money, you don't lose it, so that's, you know, to your benefit.
Yeah,
And that's what you should be buying the gear with and the truck repairs.
Right.
I didn't see a
Okay.
clothing line for general government there, I'd like to have some boots and a jacket.
Yeah. uniform.
No t-shirt? Okay.
Lorna got us t-shirts.
Idea.
So code
I did it.
enforcement is under,
I know you do.
1, 2, 3, the 4th page in,
1-20.
1-4, yes.
And what was your question, Melanie?
Well, I'm not comfortable with us or somebody making a decision that we're gonna increase the hours for code enforcement without. I don't like being surprised by that, number one. Number two, if we're held to 30 hours a week, I'm not sure why we're working more than 30 hours a week. And if we are, what are we doing with those extra hours? Are we paid to go to meetings if they're nighttime meetings? How are we getting to 34 hours a week? And is there a way we can do it with 30? Because I know when you started with us, you wanted to make sure that you're stuck with the school system, but this didn't interfere. So now if we're looking at 36 hours. as I'm in the field with the school stuff. And if we decided as a select board that we're willing, we went from 25 to 30, we went from 15 to 20, then 25, and now we're looking, and then we said 30. 30 is good. And now we're looking at 36, and then 36 becomes 40. So I'm not sure who made the decision to add this into the budget without a conversation, but I would like for us to take it out.
We should have budgeted 32 in 2024. But it only got put in for 30 hours. But he's doing, there is enough work. The more he's out there in the field, the more he finds, the more people are calling him.
So is there a revenue offset for this?
No, it gets used.
It's-
Permit fees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It gets used, it gets used to
If he's working
reduce.
more, you're generating more in permit fees, aren't you?
I don't think our permits were higher this year than last.
No, permits are gonna, based on the scale we're going at, they're gonna come out the same as they were last year, and that's just a market feature of, you know, who's gonna build and who's gonna pull a permit for what they're doing. Part of while I'm out there, yes, I'm finding people doing things and let them know that permits are required, and they'll usually come right in, get a permit and go on their way.
And, well, you're doing a lot of enforcement too.
There is a lot of enforcement. I find some people, but you know, like penalties are irregular. That's not like the revenue, and that all gets donated to the, most of it goes to the clean water fund or water fund, whatever that's called.
Yeah, because the penalties
So-
are designed to go into that fund and levy and fine.
So back when we started, yeah, I said I wasn't gonna give up the school bus job. Just because I feel like it is a good community service, and there's a shortage still. So for me to just give that up, cause doesn't, you know, doesn't make sense. I wouldn't feel good about it. Also in the beginning, I had no idea what this job was gonna entail. Okay, and as I got into it, started getting my feet under me. I'm walking faster, more things are happening. And I've taken on some upgraded projects here as far as record keeping goes. We've got digital records now that we've never had before. So there's a lot more to the job. The town looking for people not doing what they're supposed to do. And those added, you know, value features that you got with me is gonna helpful, because Mary called me just 2 weeks ago. You need a copy of a permit for where to go look for it online or in the database. And she was able to print it off for the resident with the minutes. So there's a lot of improvements going on.
Well, and I think part of it, Hans, is that we don't get any notice of what's going on. We don't know who's, we get very random, you know, who's noticed for what, when there is like a big violation. And one of the things, you know, is if we don't have photographic evidence, and that was one of the things that I thought we stressed was that if you are going out and lodging complaints, we have to have photographic evidence to back up what were the complaints, so that we have something to fall back on, not a he said, she said. And then I was told that that's not being done. We're not taking the photographs, that part's not being documented. So I guess for me, if I don't know where the additional time is coming in, and the fact that I feel it was disrespectful to the board to not even have a conversation about it, and to see whether we were comfortable increasing hours to 36, because this has been a fluctuating position, and we've increased the hours over the last handful of years, recognizing that we needed more code enforcement.
This is where we're having that conversation.
I was gonna say, don't we have that conversation?
I've put forth what I recommend, the budget committee went through it, and now it's at the select board's
Right,
table.
but if we're looking at changing and hours for an employee in the town that's going to encompass a significant increase, it's more than a 30% increase for one person. this is not where we start the discussion at budget time. So I would be comfortable to table this discussion until 2025, and for 2025's budget, we keep 30 lines and we have documentation of why we need 36. And then in 2025, we look at 36 for 2026.
But after,
So first question, so was it supposed to be budgeted for 32 hours in 2024?
Yes.
Okay, so if in case it is, if indeed it is 32 hours, that's in town of Belgrade, that's usually a permanent part-time employee, which a permanent part-time employee becomes vacation time and sick time, which that will have to equate into the, first, on the wages.
He already guessed it.
He does, he does earn vacation.
Okay.
He does earn vacation and sick time.
Okay, I just wanna make sure it's
Yes.
it's happening,
Yes.
okay.
Correct.
And then where was the change from 30 to 32 hours?
Last year we talked about that.
Last
didn't we?
year, yes.
So we wouldn't have changed hours than budgeted for 30. We're not foolish. But we said a 30-hour possession, we would budget for 30. So if it was supposed to be 30, I mean, if someone can throw me documentation that says, hey, we agreed to 32 and we've been shortchanging this guy all year, I would love to see it. Because I have had 30 stuck in my head because it was a conscious decision to go from 25 hours to 30. So I guess if we can just do a little bit of research, I'd like to see where we went from 30 to 32. And then we decide if we're gonna do this for this year, or if we're gonna consider this for next year. But I'd also like to see what have we got, what have we done over the last year?
so Hans, it sounds like average T-day, you're spending 34 hours a week. That's a normal work, correct?
Yeah,
So, from my perspective, I'd like to know. Could you do, if what Melanie's talking about is to budget to 30 and then spend for 30, what would we be missing if you were not working those 4 other hours a week? I'm thinking something wouldn't get done.
oh yeah, contractors call for inspections. And I usually try to get to them same day, which other towns and historically,
Days
sometimes they be days.
or weeks.
Which means the job doesn't get finished. Your residents are dissatisfied with the contractors. The contractors are dissatisfied with the town because the town's not providing the service that it's supposed to.
Well, aren't you supposed to do a 24-hour thing?
That's everybody thinks that's a thing. Hans can answer this. It isn't. It's up to the code enforcement or the plumbing, from my side, the plumbing inspector. He doesn't have to inspect your property or plumbing in 24 hours. It's when he can inspect it. And you can't go any further until he does inspect it. So we're kind of fortunate, in this little central Maine, Belgrade, Oakland, Waterville, Winslow, Augusta. You do get an inspection within 24 to 36 hours. Hans is correct. He's very good. He's usually there the same day. Unless it's a Wednesday.
The 24-hour rule is from the state that the contractor gives the inspector 24 hours advance notice.
Right.
That means the inspector is really not obligated to even respond within 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I know how this little town is. It's hard to get people to help. I mean, it's not just this town, it's all of them. And if I can go and inspect something in 30 minutes, let that guy go, finish his job, and go to the next job. Make more money for Bob and Tom. So it's a courtesy to the contractors. I've earned, I feel like, their respect. And it makes the town look better.
And just one other thing, I think Gary was really fortunate for the town is because I don't think he charged for dropping by on his way home from work to do an inspection. I don't think he charged the town half the time for that stuff because he was on his way home. So we never really had a true budget number. I guess making any sense, what I'm saying.
It does, it does. Out of the goodness of his heart, we're gonna end up being blind to the expense.
Right.
It's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So.
Mary?
And I was just gonna say, the board could look at, increasing, building and permit fees
Yes.
that haven't been changed since 2009. The board has the authority to do that.
We
To
keep
help
talking about
generate
doing that.
more revenues to be applied against the
Right.
expense. So that's also something that has been talked about.
We've
being
talked
looked
about
at, But nobody's looked at it
I mean,
since 2009.
Especially because violations are double what the permit
Right.
is, so
I mean,
it's fair.
you look at, you watch the media and you look at what's happening in the southern part of the state with code enforcement is. It's, they're starting to finally get smart enough to do it, but down there, it's do the project, pay the penalty, it's
Right.
cheaper.
Well,
And
it's-
then, and if that's starting to happen up here, so that's gonna make his workload even heavier.
Right, it's the worst kept secret in Maine.
It
It's
is,
the cost of doing business.
yeah.
Pay the penalty, who cares? And
Well, and I think that's one of the real advantages we have with Hans being out there and finding things. So that, and I think in some instances, people going like, oh. And that breaks, because otherwise we'll be just like the rest of them with them, doing what they wanna do and paying the penalty. So I think the hours are well spent.
I do too, and I think it's needed, so I think we probably need to have a further discussion
Right.
on this, but. I'm a believer in the role of the code enforcement officer and the role of a full-time code enforcement officer. Working in that direction, I still don't think we'd have enough coverage. Even if you were 40 hours, I still don't think we'd have enough.
Probably if you were 60 hours, you could tell.
That's you guys' decision at some point.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
that's something that you,
We're waiting eagerly to go on with this.
right,
Yeah,
that's up to you guys.
okay. We will have to look at that and put it on our agenda. Or,
And we still have time to get this in and, we got until what, January to finalize the budget.
yeah, but we
Alright.
need to be,
Mary,
we need to be about
Yeah.
it, so.
Yeah.
We
So
need
it's
to wrap
like
it up.
about January,
need-
everything
I
has to be
need
done.
the referendum articles.
I think it's the
Yeah.
14th.
It's like the 14th for the referendum, the rest of the budget, but the thing is that we try to go to print near the beginning of February.
February
Right.
for the town
Right.
report.
So if
But we could put this on the December agenda, so we can have a discussion. So other than that, is there anything else so we can move this along?
You gonna discuss permit fees too?
I think it'd be,
Yes.
personally, I think that'd be,
I think you'd read on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's another one thing we have to do. We've been saying for 5 years, we want to look at them.
I know, we keep talking
Agreed.
about it, but we need to,
we're awful cheap compared to all the other towns around.
Our
us.
minimum permit for a building permit is $15, well, you can't, that's a half a sheet of plywood.
Yes,
yeah.
Believe it or not, a
30%.
sheet anymore, so like a quarter.
Isn't it $100 a shoe?
It's
That's where
30.
they got high, they've come down a little.
Has it?
Okay, is there anything else under general government?
get to that, so let me go back there. Make sure.
I would like to look at increasing the salary line for the town manager,
Yeah,
which is 01-15.
01-15.
Thank you, Hans.
And
The contract, the town manager's contract would be up in September. And so we would need, I'd like to suggest an increase of $4,000, which would give us the leeway to increase the salary for the coming year,
incoming for the
starting in
next
September.
contract, yeah. Yeah, I had that, I didn't realize that we were in this section here. I think when you look at town manager salaries and what's happening with town managers in the area around us and what their salaries are, we we will,
we're actually right in line.
I was just gonna say, you guys figured this out. I thought we were right in line.
The report the budget committee got, we're pretty close in line.
Oh, you got a report? Did you get one?
We did
Oh.
2 meetings ago.
Remember I asked to make sure that whatever the budget committee was getting, the select board got? Is there a copy of that we can have?
I can forward that. They asked specifically, but the discussion was dropped. The budget committee.
Well, we got the salary survey from MMA.
Right.
Yeah.
and I think we need to look at that and see if we need to make an adjustment.
So would be.
Which isn't dramatic for this year, because it would only be
No,
4
so what-
months of this year.
Is that a 5% increase?
There was a 4% and there was a 3%.
Yeah, but, I didn't, what is 5%?
Oh, and this one was at 5%.
Just wanna make sure. That's right, big,
Um,
well, technically, if you went to the maximum 5%, it'd be. We should be at, we should be 84,000. If I'm wrong on that, please somebody correct me.
No, I think what was in here was a 3%.
And in the contract, Lana can correct me, or somebody on the board correct me, if it's up to a 5%.
That's the current contract, but there'll be a new contract
Right, there'll be a new
negotiated.
Right, but I mean, if you go by the current
Right,
contract,
if you went by the current one, it
that should be 84,000.
right. So we should look at that and then just
Right. So you'd have to
verify that we're in the,
Right.
in the
Yeah.
right range.
Right, and change the thing,
Yeah,
Yeah, because the number you've got right here isn't even 3%,
right?
under 3%.
Because I'm not eligible for a pay increase until September.
Right.
So I calculated out.
oh,
I
we prorated,
did so that we're not
okay, right.
raising more money than we need to.
oh,
That's why
okay,
it's less.
Okay, that makes
Okay.
sense now.
that does make sense, Lauren,
Thank you.
okay. Okay, so we need to look at that. Anything else we need to look at? Anyone else make any notes along the way? Can we move to our next, to social services then? We're a little behind here. Social services are. How far back? That you have yours now.
About more than halfway back.
More than halfway back. Is it special request?
It's social services, senior resource, and
General assistance.
general assistance.
As general assistant. Okay,
So it's page 41, but pages are all numbered.
okay. Then we'll find it,
He's going.
it's right after recreation. You find recreation, you're close.
And it's after social services.
What?
Oh, social services. Yeah, sorry, you're right.
Okay,
Yeah, it's directly after.
Yeah, after recreation.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
$40.
who's doing this? You doing this, Lorna?
Sure, so the increase here, you'll see on the Sheriff Memorial Day, the hourly wage is 85, is it 85 now? So we increased that a little bit, the programming for the senior resource. Increase that because adding more things, which is good. And I think, bus or transportation is higher too.
Right. So what we did, is our original budget was 3,500. The volunteer work program is now gonna change to a new ordinance, which there's going to be money appropriated for that. So we asked to take the 1,500 that was in the volunteer work program and move it into the senior resource. So basically giving us $5,000.
Oh, I see, this is. That was for the volunteer program, yeah.
Yeah,
Then flat fund for the next.
and flat fund for that.
Yeah, the net change between social services and general assistance is $40.
I don't know, what do you think?
I think we could save 40 somewhere.
I'll be home when you're doing that.
Anything from the state on general assistance for these new painters. I was talking to somebody from the town council the other night, and they said that they would notify that if somebody comes into town requesting general assistance because they don't have a place to live, the town is responsible for finding them room and board and everything else as part of general assistance.
Yes, but it's been that way for some time, finally.
Yeah, but it depends on where they came from and how long they have been here and if they applied for assistance in
Somewhere
previous
else.
town.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know. All I
Because
know
then
is
that
I was
town
talking to
is
them the other
then
day, and they're on the hook. They had to send somebody to all the way to Waterville or something because they don't have any hotels or anything in their town, and they're on the hook for up to $75,000 a year.
Wow.
Oh, my
General
Lord.
Assistance, because they get some money back, but it's still. So I just want to make sure we don't have somebody coming in. That says they're homeless, that we're gonna.
Well, we do have that.
I just want to make sure we're not gonna have a book with just this little bit of amount of
I
money.
think we're taking care of it, huh, Lorna?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
anything more on this one?
They did make a lot.
So, yes, we,
A
and
real lot.
we have another training we can go to the advanced in
Yeah.
December.
Okay.
Yeah,
We just want to make sure we're not gonna.
Yes.
Warn it.
correct, yeah, yes.
Special requests are those?
Well, have to wait, you have, the petitions on your select board agenda tomorrow night to review.
Oh, okay, so we're not.
We just got, we got those in after elections and,
Okay,
Mary went through and got all those names done.
Yeah.
okay, so the next one we're doing is
Or
recreation.
I had to answer it.
Recreation, Lisa and I will do our best to answer any, questions you have on this. We have a trio line item that, increased both for recreation and, Penny's solid waste transfer station because we added the ability to take credit cards. And they're tied into our system that paid for it. Which is a super convenience for residents. Again, looking over the individual line items, anything highlighted in the yellow means that it went up from the previous year.
So was that licenses, is that for the credit card?
That's the Harris, it says Harris, so Harris is our vendor for Trio,
Oh, okay,
which is, yes,
which is the credit card,
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
All right. I would think that would be a huge thing at the Center Fall Seasons
yes.
to have that. Okay.
So one of the questions I had, I gotta find it, and now the pool, we are making sure when we hire a new director that they get the training.
The lifeguard certification,
Not the lifeguard,
two people.
right, the pool, to take care of the pool.
I don't think he needs certification, I don't know that. Yeah, I know Dan was using,
He said
It's the same people we use, Sunshine Pools out of J.
He said he had to get he was
There's some
certified.
kind of
He had to get a
there's some kind of
certification.
certificate you have to run that.
So,
pool, so.
because we didn't budget, because I questioned that when Dan met with us, the budget committee, because where he was leaving, if the new person doesn't get that training, we're gonna be on the hook for a lot more money for that pool than what we budgeted.
So we need to make sure we have enough money to pay for the training too.
I guess the training is virtual, I guess it's free, I think Dan said. It's not very much money, but the problem is making sure that
Make sure
somebody's
you have it.
trained before April.
Yeah,
If not, we're not gonna have enough money in the budget for the pool.
What's under the miscellaneous line item for 10,000?
What number is that?
That is 31-15.
Yeah,
Oh.
considering we only spent $380.
I expect that's probably new programming he wanted, but did he tell you what that was?
I don't remember, to be honest.
Does that have anything to do with the sailing camp?
It
The
could,
miscellaneous.
Yeah.
field trips, so transportation.
Oh, transportation went up.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
transportation went
I
up
remember
big
that.
time. Yeah.
Okay,
Well, transportation.
But there was already an increase in
12.5, but there's a miscellaneous line item, 31-15, for $10,000.
yeah,
What's
Santa
the,
Village.
what's the transportation?
It's under special projects.
What's the transportation line?
31-15. Oh, the
No,
transportation.
is
Transportation
20
is,
20-02.
20-02. It was 2024, we budgeted 10,000. Year to date, we spent 12,095, so we budgeted 12,500 for transportation. Okay, I think that's,
Transportation.
Which makes sense.
So,
yeah.
it looks like he's got, transportation is RSU 18, Sear bus line, Botanical Garden, Kiribati, Aquaboggin, Spare Time, Moose Mountain, Pemaquid, Narrow Gauge, rec field trips in August, and Freiburg Senior,
But with the
bus
31
trips,
31
that's transportation, and then under miscellaneous, we had 3 things. Here we go. Field trip.
It was the admission fees.
Oh, admission fees on
For the
field
staff.
trip, Funtown admission, Freiburg Fair entry. So my guess is
It was the
that,
staff.
he was planning more trips.
Yeah,
10,000 is pretty freaking hefty. I can't imagine that for a couple of staff people, it's $10,000 for the Freiburg Fair and alcohol.
it was $10,000 in this year's budget, and he only spent 600.
Yeah, you only spent
$55.
$655.
can we email him and see what his plans were for that? I'm sure he had some new programming, because he had a lot of
I
ideas.
think he meant for it to be 1,000 and not 10,000.
That could be. I was wondering.
Because I'm like, that's kind of
Well,
a.
the prior year was 10.
Yeah, you know, it's
Yeah.
about 650.
What's that miscellaneous
Yeah, I know.
line item, Lisa?
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm saying is maybe he meant for it to be 1,000 and it just a bit extra.
He just
zero.
carried the line from last year right over.
Right.
Well, there was no line in last year, so.
Yeah, it was
2024 there was.
10,000.
2024, that's this year, right?
Well,
Oh, this-
yeah,
well, yeah.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just carried 2024 budget into 2025.
Carried over what he budgeted for this year.
Yeah.
So we could just
I just
email him
sent
and
a
see.
message, but
Okay.
I don't know that
Right.
he'll reply to me.
Anything else that we need to look at on this?
Well, and the music program was budgeted this year for 5,500, it cost 9,500.
So he may be paying,
With
the
donations.
Paulson fee and sound and all of that out of miscellaneous
'Cause-
for the concerts.
Well,
But wouldn't
he
we
has the
know?
DILTS money.
Yes.
That, didn't he pay that out?
I believe that's gone.
I moved.
Yeah, I believe that's gone.
That's gone,
Yeah.
okay.
But even if it's being paid out of something else, shouldn't it be in the?
Yeah, it should be, it should be a different line.
You shouldn't even have them this line.
No.
No, and definitely not one for 10
And
grand.
it seems to be new this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Yes.
and one of the things with the
So,
music program.
I would get rid of it.
is We're not looking for this program to be,
we had 10,000.
you know, it's a nice program, but we didn't want to pay a butt ton of money.
What's
Okay,
around?
well, we'll need to check that piece of it.
So
Anything else we need to check?
what line, what number is the music on?
We're gonna just-
3112.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, last year we budgeted 5,500 for music, so far we spent 9,500, we'll only buy budgeted 5,500 again next year.
Yeah, so we need to see where the other
Some-
4,000
some-
came in.
Right.
Yeah, I
Because-
think some of the sound and the fee for Christine is listed under music and it should be under miscellaneous.
Oh,
No,
no,
it
it
should
shouldn't,
be in
it should not be a miscellaneous.
Should be in the
That
music.
doesn't
Should be in the
call for it.
music, because we have to pay Christine in order to get them to come to do
We're
it.
trying to really need that department head to be here to talk to them.
Exactly.
We don't have that.
We don't have it.
Dan's not, Dan no longer works for us.
Have we hired somebody yet?
We haven't had any applications, have we?
Okay, moving right along.
Yeah.
Anything else under recreation we need to check on? Work on? Okay. So then we're up to trust activities?
Please, did you wanna
Where is that?
talk about
That's,
that?
no, about, that's the pages that's on the
Oh, the
table.
page they gave us? Oh, okay.
Lisa gave you an updated, printout this afternoon.
Yeah,
Okay. Most recent figures for the trust balances. It's the one,
So these don't
it's
really
the,
affect
like,
taxes.
this one. The other one is, revenue, reserve accounts.
One way it affects the taxes is like cemeteries, whatever, 90% of the interest goes to offset the budget.
Same thing with DC Stevens and that's where. those-
so we have $608,000 in the cemetery budget, the cemetery trust.
And the portfolio, yeah.
Yeah, those are people that pay to have stuff done.
Yeah, no,
That used to be more than that,
wow.
It's good.
I've recently updated the year with all of the interest. I mentioned to Lorna recently this last month, the election, I think interest went down, but otherwise than that, it's been going up pretty good.
Yeah.
The investments have been going up pretty good. But I bet it'll bounce back. Fine.
It makes quite a bit of interest.
Yeah, we've been doing really well.
Lisa, what do we have there under scholarships? Because the only one that I know of is there's a small amount that comes out and then the town increases. It used to be $200 and now we do 1,000.
To be honest, I haven't had a chance to look into the scholarships, so I'm not sure what's there.
Just see, because I can't think of any time in all the time I've been here where we've given any scholarships out. Except for the one to the highest ranking senior that comes from the town of Belgrade.
Right.
And that generally, I think it's $200 that comes out of an account and then we pitch the rest in to make 1,000.
I know everything's been
Yeah.
$400 the past few years, I think it's been like 80 and 90 bucks, and we've been pitching in around.
Right, well, because it used to be, it was a straight 200, it was like.
250, because I got it when I graduated.
And we never increased it until like 5 years ago.
Yeah, because we,
Oh, my God.
Okay.
give what the interest is based on.
Right, so I'm wondering
So-
if that scholarship account, if that's the interest from that, and then we make up the difference.
Yeah.
But if we can just see like, what does that say?
I can,
Is there anybody else we can give a scholarship to?
yeah, I can let you know what for sure the interest has been so far this year.
Yeah.
And let you know.
And then just maybe what are the parameters for that scholarship investment, because I know each one has their rules that go with it. That we're bound by.
In my searching in the files, I haven't seen anything in the office that says scholarships, so I would have to look
It's probably got some mystery header that we changed over the years.
Maybe,
I bet
it-
Mary will know.
yeah, and it may be like in the vault or in one of the other rooms that, I haven't looked for. I find I have to go look in other places sometimes for things.
Well, some stuff, Lisa just.
So, and it may be in the computer somewhere too, that I can find it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send something out.
Okay, so, and then the other is the general ledger. These are current balances in the reserve account.
These are the
Yeah.
reserve accounts, which we'll really talk more about next meeting. But it gives you a heads up. And, with printing it off, Mary and I were just talking, it's like, why are there a couple duplicates here? Like, there's 2 facility capital accounts. And she's like, the beginning of the year, those were supposed to be taken care of, and I'm like, I don't know why there are 2 accounts there, so. Which one? 109, yeah, and then a duplicate with
595.
595. So, I am not sure,
Okay.
so I have to do some research.
So just looking at this, we have a sidewalk improvement account of $75.
I think I had heard that that was supposed to have been used up.
I think when they did the road, but.
Yeah.
One thought I have is the village lights escrow is for maintenance and upkeep of the sidewalks and. The lamp posts and all of that, that maybe we take that $75 sidewalk. Since the only sidewalk we have is and just move it down to that other account and get rid of one. Aren't they complaining that we have so many?
Well, we have to be careful because remember, these are the designated funds.
So they've been set up for a specific purpose, so you can't just take it and move it somewhere else.
You have to vote on, it, correct?
Yeah,
we
you
vote on
have, yeah, town meeting.
We might wanna look at cleaning some of these up, I guess is my point.
So, yes, these are the ones that you need to be very careful with.
Yeah, no, but some of them look like the Old Town Meeting House,
Yeah, that's the history house. That's
That's
the
true.
History House,
History
but
house.
don't they have their own account? We can spend this money, right? As long as it's spent on the History House or
You
not?
have to check the parameters.
Yeah.
See
Okay,
how it was set up.
okay. I'm just looking
This
at
is
some
on
of
the-
these smaller accounts. Is there a way to?
This is on next week's agenda too.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But I mean, if you guys, part of why I handed out is to look at it, with
Yeah.
the understanding of, this is the one where. This is that designated funds. That have the big rules and
Right,
regulations.
yeah.
So if you guys wanted to look at it, see what it all is.
And this is on tomorrow night's agenda, right, on the select board to discuss this part of it?
Next budget committee.
Next budget.
Next budget,
Next Tuesday.
okay.
Yeah.
So the part about moving funds from the general fund into a separate account for capital reserves that we discussed at our last budget meeting, was that gonna be discussed at a board meeting?
I would assume that the board would discuss it at their meeting on the 26th. Legally, I think that we need to move them.
Oh, I
out
most have to
from
do,
the general fund, they
But-
need to be separated.
So we
And
discuss that
interest
next week,
apply.
next
Yeah.
right.
Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Can the board
Okay,
act on that at that meet? Yeah, it's a full board meeting, so they can act on anything, have a vote on anything, correct?
the 26th is our next budget meeting.
I know, but this is really a select board item.
Right, so it would need to come up on December, because we're meeting tomorrow night.
Correct. It needs as far as I'm concerned, a lot of may feel different, but I think this needs to be addressed before year end.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think it
It's
should.
fairly easy to move it.
Right.
We
It just
we
takes
already
their
have
vote,
the
right?
account set up with
Right.
Northeast.
It's just their vote,
To
that's
hold
all you
it.
need.
I think December 3rd is the first Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yes, December.
does everyone on the
Second,
board know what we're talking about? I mean, I've talked with Lorna and I think some people have, but
This is the public works.
No.
no.
This is all the capital reserves.
This is essentially saying that the capital reserve accounts have been held in our general.
General ledger.
And according to Maine Municipal, and what I read said that they had to either be deposited or invested. It doesn't say that we have to remove them and they have to go in their own separate investment account. But I may have read it, but when I read through the law, it said deposited or invested, and that the interest needs to go to the account that it comes from.
Right, each individual
So
account.
each individual one would have their own interest back, and I think the problem we've had is that the interest hasn't gone back to the reserve.
The reserve account, the interest has gone to the general fund.
For years we've been doing it illegally, I think that we deposited it, but maybe the interest wasn't.
But also, I think what's happening is that with the fund, the general fund balance, as we go throughout the year and pay bills every month, that we're using the money in the general fund balance. And so in some cases, we're actually using this money, which is illegal.
Capital reserve money.
Is there a time?
So we haven't needed a TAN for a couple of years.
This is
Because
why.
we basically been robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Thank you, this is it, I didn't want to say that out loud.
They used to be split out, you said.
Yes, years ago, they used to put out, so we used to rate, we always raise it appropriated by tax dollars, and it went into a separate account, we always got the interest. I can't remember when it changed, me and Dan was talking about.
After Peel, was when Barbie Deegan came in and
Yeah.
she tried to make some changes that were
Cause
broad.
me and Dan was trying to figure it out, we talked to Jeff Stevens says when he was chief, it was that way. For most of his, career being chief, that it went into a separate account, we got the interest every year.
Yeah.
So and so forth.
So what this, if I understand it correctly, what this means is if we put this into a separate account, get the interest divided out to all those accounts as it comes in. Then our general fund may get too thin and we will have to use a TAN for 3 or 4 months and incur that cost, which we need to budget for somewhere.
I mean, in my eyes.
We budget for a TAN, but we
Right.
haven't used it.
Right, in my eyes, what I've done for math, I don't see how we are not gonna get out while using a TAN.
Yeah, I don't know how you figured it, we should get together.
I just did rough
I look
numbers.
at like a 2.7
Yeah,
million TAN.
I figured around 2, so.
Yeah.
Yep,
The
that's
other-
what I was.
So what we need to budget for is the interest on the TAN.
Yes,
Right, and the cost of the TAN, I mean, there's a cost for setting it up, but we always do that.
legal fees,
But we
yes.
haven't had to pay any interest because we haven't had to take that, we've only had to pay the fees to set it up.
Right.
So that will be an extra cost to the
So,
taxpayer.
right, so if you guys can get that on the agenda for the 3rd, so you guys can act on that. So
Right.
that gives Lisa and Lorna time to get things squared away before year end. Right.
And it will make it, I think, it will make it clearer at town meeting where
That and the auditor.
that we don't have tons of money sitting there that we're not spending.
Right.
I just want to.
Now, because it all shows the general fund, they see that number, which is a distorted number, if it's sitting in a different.
No, but why are we?
And it was
Fine,
confusing
for
to
lack of
me
a better
at last town meeting, it's very confusing to me too, because in my eyes, I thought that it was in separate accounts.
Right,
So that, yes, it's gonna make it a lot more clear, you're not gonna have somebody stand up and say, well, you got $8 million in the general fund, why are
You
you?
don't.
Yeah, I know we don't, that was brought up at the special town meeting, so.
Lisa, are you the one who's putting all these books together? You and Lauren? So just so you know, I don't get rid of the stuff we went over tonight.
Oh, I don't take out, yeah.
Yeah, she's got all my stuff right
I
there.
was- I go back to.
What we do-
I go back to 2021 budget tonight.
What I've been doing is using a different color
Yeah.
for the separator for each meeting. So I can differentiate the dates of the meetings and I just call them in on top of each other. Yeah.
okay. Well, we caught up time pretty well.
Yeah.
So our next, we'll have town meetings, and we'll have select board tomorrow night. Our next budget meeting will be a week from tomorrow night at 6:30, not 6, but 6:30.
Hey, go.
And then we'll see all of you Wednesday night at the Center for All Seasons at 5:30. only because we want to confuse you more. That's the comprehensive plan update. So 6 tonight, 6:30 tomorrow, 5:30 Wednesday.
I gotta be here again 6:30 Thursday.
Do I? Oh, okay. Good night.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh,
We never officially opened.
we never officially opened, but we can. Is there a second on a motion to adjourn a meeting?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, okay. Rock and roll. All right.
How long you been at that, meeting Wednesday?
They're talking about it just being an hour meeting. I